we're back. So to kick off the year, we're joined by the voices of Rounders, Marie and Eddie. Guys, thanks a million for coming on. How's everyone? How's the new year treating you?
Yeah, good. Trying to get back into Rounders mind frame after the break, but yeah, all good.
Yeah, great start to the year. Everybody's feeling a little bit more upbeat. We've got a lot of good news coming, so long may it come. Continue.
Yeah, so guys, we're just going to start. So obviously, last year was, a bit of an unusual year. We had 2020 finals and 2021, but nearly in equally big news, we started streaming Rounders, and the two of you got roped, or did you volunteer into doing the commentary? How did that all come about?
Well, I think I got a call on the Monday or the Tuesday, and the match was on the Saturday, so it was kind of an involuntary volunteer. I think it was very last minute. So, and I think Eddie, when I was asked, you were already kind of pitched as the person by my side, I think.
Yeah, I got robbed though.
Yeah.
Thanks, Darryl.
Yeah, it was kind of a very, very last minute. It was because the way the season had gone and the dates and the different, changes at matches and COVID and everything, that the streaming was kind of a little bit up in the air right up until the very last minute. So when it was finally agreed, then it was agreed that we need some speakers. So that was it. It was the call, and couldn't really refuse at such short notice.
Yeah, no, look, I wasn't playing in the finals, and it's good to watch it from the other side and give a bit of insight in it. So I don't mind doing it at all. So it's something different.
Were you nervous, Eddie?
First time, yeah, very nervous. Thank God there was air conditioning in that truck.
And you, Marie?
Me and Eddie's version of nerves are very different, because I came and I had sheets and sheets of information and notes and research done, and Eddie rocks up going, so what do we have to do? So Eddie brought the personality and I brought all the information, I think. Yeah, the hardest thing for me, because I had only come back playing in the last 2 or 3 years, so I didn't know the players half as well as Eddie did. So I had lists of everyone's, and some teams had numbers on their jerseys, so it was easier for me, and I had plagued all the teams when they were trying to do their warm-up, asking who's playing in what position, and your managers, Daryl's manager, Rowan's manager, are probably sick of me trying to take notes. So as people were getting up to bat, yeah,
the A4 piece of paper.
Yeah. But it was great because Eddie knew so many of the players and knew insight about them after playing them for so long. And if someone got up to bat, here's Ronan and this is what he generally does, and he had more of the history side of the players, which was great because I was quite new, didn't know everyone as well as Eddie did, so it was good.
So guys, just to obviously talk about those 2020 finals. Obviously you had a different perspective of it, in the truck and having to talk about it. But what were your thoughts? Obviously, teams were going in relatively cold, not having played a season. So, it started with the men's. We had Carrickmacross and Glenbarntown. What way did you think that game folded out?
For me personally, the two of them had a big question to ask themselves. It was about the step up. Carrick had a chance to do it a while back, and this was their moment, and Glenbarntown was coming out of nowhere the past few years. But it was Carrick's first big chance of taking it, and Glenbarntown had to take that next step as well. And you could see that in the game. We did see Carrick taking control of the game, and then they got nervous as it came on. But then they did show a champions team side of them, and then they took it on just that little bit at the very end and just that edging Glenbarntown. They showed themselves a really good team that day. Sloppy play now, but they still managed to get it over the line.
Well, I'm going to say the exact opposite, because if I could have picked the dream game to be the first game to stream and to commentate on, it was just everything. It was so quick. I think it might have been the quickest game around as I had ever watched. It just felt like the 3 outs were coming so quickly. The batting was so quick. The skills on show were so good. I wouldn't have thought that she had any bit of a break, either team. Everyone just seemed really sharp and really up for it. And I don't know if it was because I was tense in the truck and making sure that we had stuff to talk about, but it just felt picture perfect at times. There was loads of really great catches, and and that was one thing I was really worried about, that there had been a gap. And everyone knows at the start of the season, you kind of are a little bit rusty. Whereas I just kind of felt, and even talking to both sets of teams beforehand, they were both really primed for it. There was no kind of, blown off cobwebs or anything for the first inning or two. It felt like it was straight into a really tense match.
Right. And Ronan, what would you say in response to that? Would you say that it was kind of a balance between the two?
Yeah, I suppose it was probably strange going into, you're not in March or April, you're in June, and you're starting off the year with the first game 7 in, and I suppose both teams, and I know from our camp, I wouldn't say we were worried, but we were definitely saying to ourselves, no matter how many challenges and training you play, you don't know what level you're going to be at. But look, we went up there and we probably said we've kind of a point to prove to ourselves after the way the year had went. We thought we played really well, showed a lot of character in the semi-final. Both days, I think we came from 14 behind the second day. We played very well in them 2 games. And in the final, to be honest, we probably weren't at our max. Our batting was probably a little bit off, but that's not to take away from the way Glenbarntown played, because I don't think they dropped. I don't think they dropped the ball the whole day. Maybe one, but that you'd have to hold your hands up. Sometimes that's what happens. But they were incredibly sharp as well. But our bowler, Barry Lamb, was just absolutely on fire. And then every mistake everybody made, I think Barry finished with 4 catches for a bowler. Every mistake that anybody made, he was on it like a flash. And I knew by him in the warm up. I just knew we weren't going to be beat. To tell you the truth, I just said, this fella, this is his day today, and he did. I know Oren obviously picked up the man of the match because he was getting the catches outfield. But for me, Barry just probably set the wheels in motion for our attitude for the day as well, which was a big thing. And it was a big thing that caused it wasn't a tension between the 2 teams, but there was an edge to the game, really, where you knew that if one mistake was going to cost you. And we actually, maybe in the 5th or the 6th inning, I know I dropped one, and I thought that we had blew our chance, to tell you the truth. And again, a couple of lads stood up in the last inning, and we got the final 3 out. But obviously a brilliant day for us. But to be fair to Glenbarntown, it was probably a tough day for them. They had 2 finals after, and you're hard to go out to them at the same time. They probably could have won the 3 of them at the same time. Not to talk over about the ladies of the mix, but they probably didn't deserve to leave Abbottstown with nothing, to be fair to them. But they'll be back again, no doubt about that.
Yeah. Well, I was just going to talk about the ladies. I mean, Glenbarntown were going to try and equal the record. They were, I think both of you kind of referred to them as the juggernaut going into that game.
Yeah.
So what way did you think the ladies go? We kind of caught on the hop nearly by Briefy the way they approached the game, or what way did you think it?
I really wasn't, because we had played Briefy in the semi-final, and it's funny when you say, Ronan, about you kind of felt like it was your day. You could feel that when I went to talk to every team before going into the commentary truck. I was nearly walking away going, it's definitely Briefy's. They were not even it wasn't cockiness or confidence. They were just so ready. And they had played so well against us in the semi-final. They just seemed up for it. Not to say that Glenbarntown weren't up for it, but they were just completely primed. Briefy were. I was surprised that they were kind of written off. With anyone that we were talking to around the ground, everyone was like, oh no, it's definitely Glenbarntown. But 5 in a row is such a hard ask. It doesn't matter if you're the best team in the country on that given day. 5 in a row is just, it's just phenomenal. Everything has to fall into place for you. So I was back.
Well, they didn't look beatable at the time, though.
But yeah, so that ladies' final, obviously, I think a lot of people were eyeing it up because no different than the men's. There was going to be history made. It was either a team going to equal a record, or Briefy, I think it was going to be their first ever ladies' title. So emotions were running high, and actually you said Alice, which is on for that, and. I'd say she had a very unique input on it, from being there on All Ireland final day so much. What was it like having Alice in the trailer witches?
It was good for the.
It was fun for me.
It was good fun, yeah. It was fun it was good for the ladies, particularly because what Eddie had brought to the men's, knowing all the players, Alice had that knowledge about a lot of the ladies. So even though I had played against both Glenbarrington and Briefy, it was great to have someone that had been long-standing in playing rounders and kind of knew them. And then brought that, I had played in one All-Ireland the year before, whereas Alice had all of this experience, and even just to what are they feeling as we came into like the last inning, and I was getting nervous in the truck. I could only imagine how like Michelle was bowling, how she was feeling, and Alice was able to bring that perspective, so it was nice. And then everyone was kind of sick of listening to me and Eddie, I think, at that stage, so it was nice to kind of bring in another voice. We had a stats man out on the sideline just looking at the bowlers, because we knew, like, I don't know if you've maybe played against her in mixed, but like Emma Reddy is an incredible bowler, and so is Happy, and so we knew that was going to be really the crux of like who was going to push on or not to diminish the rest of the team, but it was going to be such a battle between them. And I think in the first 3 innings there might have been like 3 bad balls. It was just like unreal, and that's what I was saying about it being the dream games to commentate on, because there was no nerves, there was no like massive experience. Michelle coming from playing for so long, obviously Emma playing for so long, that they just absolutely like dominated it for the first couple of innings. So it made the game really, really tense.
Do you think Glenbarrington was under pressure with the 5 in a row? Like
Definitely.
Yeah,
and not from not from like it, not internally for them. Obviously they're so experienced, but it's just that weight that hangs over you, I can imagine. And it's the 5 in the row, and it's the 3 in the one day. Like, it's a huge amount of pressure on any team coming in there.
That'll actually bring us to the actual mixed final. Like that's a obviously, no matter who Glenbarrington were playing, they were up against the toughest you're ever going to get. And for the day that was in it, they had to play Iron Eagles, which there's a lot of emotion at stake there. First and foremost, like, they're definitely the team you don't want to be playing on a day like that. But they started off the better team in the mix. To be fair, not playing Darren, but they were well ahead for long periods.
Yeah, they started well, but again, as I said, that like the men's side of things, that fatigue could have been playing on them, and then they started just kind of dragging themselves down a little bit. But as look, the day played out as it was, it was a hard day for them to keep themselves going. Like, fair play to them, but you could just see that I'd say the lads on their side, they were just a little bit too tired at that stage.
Yeah, I think they showed a lot of character in the mix. There's not many teams who'll go out and play against Cavan and lead for most of the game, because trust me, it's not easy. I can tell you that.
It is
in the commentary truck for that one, like, it was really tough, because obviously there was the day that was in it for Iron Eagles, and the heart was like, well, obviously you want to see Iron Eagles win the Dippin' O'Reilly trophy, but then obviously your heart then for Glenbarrington after having such a tough day. I was really conscious to stay as impartial as possible, because I was impartial for all the games, but it was a really tough one, because going into it, you knew a loss for it was going to be so hard for either team. So it was we were kind of hoping, I was hoping that the game would just keep continuing. It was once we started to see Iron Eagles pull away, it did pull on the heartstrings, I have to say.
It was a nice emotion to see them outside the pit after the game. Most of Iron Eagles players, they didn't have a dry eye in the whole squad altogether. I could see Daryl was pouring. It was great to watch.
It was a fitting tribute, Daryl, wasn't it?
Yeah.
How did it stack up with the rest of the messages over there? Because
well, like, it was so strange going into that, because like, I suppose if it was nearly anything else, you're going in cold, you haven't played the games, but just because of everything that was on the line, we weren't even focused on anything like that. We were just like, this is Dippin's Cup, and we're going to leave no stone unturned. We are going to like die in our boots on that pitch, like that's just the way we were going in. It's just like it was pure emotional, like, and that's really what drove us. Like, so even when we were down, like, we were just like, we're not giving up. We are going to claw this back, and we're like, look, I suppose we'd always back ourselves to a certain extent. Like, we know, like, there's some games we've been trailing, we've been really behind. We know we have it in us to come back, and like on that day, like, like, we nearly felt like she was playing with us. Like, we were not going to stop.
That was really obvious walking away from the team before the match started as well, when I was trying to take notes, and the very same as from Carrick earlier and Briefy in the ladies' match. I was walking away going, there's no way that they're leaving this behind them. And yeah, it's amazing how that one little edge it'll give you going into such a tight game.
Yeah, it was a great game. I'm pretty sure in the commentary box, I wouldn't write off Aaron Eagles at any stage. Was I doing, Brian?
No, I think you had well written them off, Eddie, before the game even.
Thanks, Eddie. Thanks, Eddie.
Don't try backtrack now. I was there.
All right, I'll take it.